All praises and glory to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahushai Bahasham Ha Rakah Kodash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba babal. Alright, so I got sent this to the chat, and it's very edifying in what time we're in. All right, and I'm going to let it play, and I'm going to stop it as we go and grab scripture. And pretty much we're at the end of the very end of the so-called white man, which is the red devil, Esau, Edom's reign of terror. Okay, and it says in Revelation 12, verse 12, "Therefore rejoice, ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil, the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, is come down unto you, having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time." All right? And we're going to overcome him by the blood of Yahushai. Verse 11, "And they," speaking of the elect of Israel, which hopefully I pray and I am in that number, and I pray for the brothers of the Rakah Kodash that are prophesying and sighing and crying, which the Israelites are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which have been scattered throughout the world in slavery. And it says, "And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb." The Lamb is Yahushai, which he was sacrificed for the sake of Israel, fulfilling the word of Yahweh. "And by the word of their testimony," which we testify of Yahushai's return, which is a spirit of prophecy. "And they love not their lives unto the death." And this video is going to explain why. Okay, because the so-called white man, the red devil, is coming down with great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
This week, journalist Matt Taibbi exposed in the latest Twitter Files drop a shocking truth about the manipulation by Democrats to create a narrative of Russian interference, even when they're told over and over there was no evidence of their claims. Essentially, what we've learned is Democrats and the mainstream media have gaslit the American public into believing there's a greater threat of Russian misinformation than there actually is. This has led to grave consequences for many Americans. Many have been subjected to social media censorship and a violation of their First Amendment rights. Some are labeled as Russian assets and demonized. And worse, some face being investigated, raided by the FBI, and threatened with indictments by the Department of Justice. Many people believe this is only happening to right-wing Trump supporters, but in reality, it seems to be happening to anyone who's against Democrats' agenda. For Chairman Omali Yeshitela, the members of the Uruhu movement and the African People's Socialist Party, this is not just a theoretical threat. They say they were the targets of a terrifying early morning FBI raid in which their homes were stormed by flash grenades, drones, armored tanks, and armed FBI agents. Now they're facing the possibility of being indicted by the DOJ.
And I would like to make the point, you just had what they call the elite, when they had the meeting in Davos, and the head of the FBI was in attendance. All right, which means they're coming down with that great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. All right, and you can see this guy when he talks, he's an Israelite. He's not an African. Okay, he's probably been known as an African American, but that when you hear him speak, you could tell by his swag that he's an Israelite. He's not a Hamite. All right? So they're making a cause to come down against anyone that speaks against what they're doing, which they're doing wickedly. All right? They're promoting homosexuality to the children. All right? And if you don't get down with their agenda, pretty much you're deemed the enemy, and they're going to come down with great wrath.
For what? Well, apparently for being Russian agents. Just so you understand the absurdity of this claim, let me tell you a little bit about them. The Uruhu movement, established in 1972, is led by the African People's Socialist Party. Their political theory, African internationalism, asserts that capitalism is a form of imperialism that exploits the African people. The movement advocates for the release of African prisoners in the U.S., which they refer to as concentration camps, and views U.S. police forces as an illegitimate standing army. In the 90s, the group frequently protested against police brutality towards African Americans. In 2008, they interrupted Barack Obama during a town hall meeting and questioned him on issues affecting the African community, such as police brutality, high unemployment, predatory lending, and Hurricane Katrina. The group has been criticized by the Anti-Defamation League for being anti-Israel and anti-Zionist. So you can see this group has a long history of protesting and speaking up against various U.S. policies.
Now, we're not in the media like that, all right? But we speak out according to the Bible, all right? I'm going to have to steal this one from Lawson, which I believe he's a Jake, but he looks like a Edomite, all right? And he has zeal, but he don't have knowledge. But he says, you know, from his pulpit, what does the Bible say, all right? And the Bible has prophecy, and it even has history, okay? And us being on the street, they see it as a form of protest, all right? We're out there prophesying, but they'll use that word protest to demonize us and throw us in the bunch with the rest of these people, all right? Which we don't go against the nobles. We don't go into their town hall meetings or nothing like that. We just stand on the corner and tell our people to repent, which our people are the so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, which our people even look like so-called Caucasians, all right? We search for them that have faith. We're the fishermen of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, as it is prophesied that he would send prophets to warn the people in the last days, which had started, you know, when Yahushai was crucified and resurrected. He sent the apostles out, and now we're carrying that torch today, starting with the apostle elders with great millstone. The Holy Spirit is with great millstone, all right? But we had Abba Bivens, which is Malachi chapter 4, all right? Because they were pretty much attacking these people and giving them almost a distorted mirror image of a Hebrew Israelite group. All right, Malachi chapter 4, verse 5. Behold, I will send you Elijah, which he sent Elijah Abba Bivens in the late 1960s, the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of Yahweh. And he shall turn the heart of the fathers to the sons, and the heart of the sons to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse. So that's what we're doing. We're on the streets prophesying and warning our people of the judgment to come. All right, so that they might be saved. Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression, and the house of Jacob their sins. All right, which this shows that the wicked have no peace, because they get power from Israel being wicked. It says in Isaiah 57:21, there is no peace, saith my power, to the wicked. All right, why? Because we're telling our people to stop being wicked. So that's removing the power of the wicked. Revelation 11. It says in verse 11, and after 3 days and a half, the spirit of life from Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai entered into them, and they stood upon their feet, and great fear fell upon them which saw them. And who's afraid? The so-called white man that's in power. All right, because he's losing his power now. Okay, because the wicked, they control the world in wickedness. Isaiah 3. Okay, it says Isaiah 3 and verse 11. Woe unto the wicked, it shall be ill with him, for the reward of his hands shall be given him. As for my people, talking about the Israelites, children are their oppressors, and women rule over them. O my people, they which led thee caused thee to err and destroy the way of thy paths. All right? So they're in power, and the way they keep their power is by keeping the Israelites in wickedness. That's why you'll find abominations in food. That's why, here in America, in Babylon, all right, they force you to sin. All right, you'll go to a restaurant, we always speak about this, and you'll have a woman serving you food that's on her period. See? And she'll most likely be a lesbian or an aborted, many children because she's a whore. All right? So Babylon forces you to sin because that's how they rule. They're the wicked, and they rule the world with the European Union, which they have a military might called NATO. All right? And they actually have the heathen in bed with them. That's why you have the United Nations. Okay? But the Lord, He's going to put away this NWO for good when He returns. All right? They only have a short period of time to do what they're going to do. But then Yahweh Shai is going to return and deliver His people, His elect. And He's going to destroy the wicked and them that do wickedly, including 2/3 of the nation of Israel. Like these people here, if they continue in this void religion, this false religion of being an African, they're gonna perish right along with the heathen because they're considered heathen. All right, but the salvation is only for the Israelites, and they were preordained to be saved. All right.
And speaking up against various U.S. policies. Their angst is nothing new, and it's not newly.
Oh yeah, and I wanted to get Revelation 17. Okay, Revelation 17, and it says, and verse 5, and upon her forehead, talking about America, was the name written, Mystery Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth, which when you put this in Hebrew, it equals 666, which it tells you in Revelation 13. It says, here is, verse 18, here is wisdom, let him that hath understanding count the number of the beasts, for it is the number of a man, pertaining to the Edomite, and it really starts with the elite, the ones controlling everything, and his number is 666, Kai Zai Stigma, which it goes into the history of them branding us, marking us as slaves, and then now you have the barcode system, and now you have the MOTB, the device that's the size of a grain of rice, which they want to put inside your body, making it mandatory that you have this thing implanted so that you may buy or sell, which is an abomination. All right? And the Chi Xi stigma goes back to the Greek alphabet, which the Greeks and the Romans were Edomites, the so-called white men back then. And today you got America, which is the whore that rides the beast, the seven-headed beast. You got Greece, Rome, France, Britain, Spain, Germania Major, Germania Minor. All right. So going back to Revelation 17, let me get this. And this word here, mother, when you go into the word mother, it's pretty much the beginning they're saying. It says mother, which it's a mother or a metaphor, the source of something, the motherland. All right. So the beginning of, when you go into the word harlot, all right, which it says a woman who sells her body for sexual uses, a prostitute, a harlot, a metaphor, an idolatress of Babylon, i.e. Rome, the chief seat of idolatry, which is America. All right. In fact, America has the title of the biggest satanic seance in the world already. But they're about to do it again, if the Lord allows it, in April of 2023. But they did it in Arizona, Scottsdale, right? So they already have this title of being the most satanic place in the world. America, Babylon the Great, who are to be destroyed. And then it spreads that shit out throughout the world. All right? So now when you go into the root word, it says a male prostitute, a man who prostitutes his body to sell of a price. And then you finally get to the root word, which is piran, and it goes to pierce. To pierce, all right? Let me get the definition. It says pierce, of a sharp pointed object, go into or through something. Okay, which we know what that pertains to. That pertains to that, that jungle juice that they were telling everybody they had to take, that viper venom, right? Which is fucking making people drop to their death every day. And also the MOTB, which they're going to need a sharp pointed object to implant a device the size of a grain of rice inside people's bodies because they command it. See, pierce. It says beyond on the other side, which they do this, they're going to make it worldwide. All right, just like they did the gin and juice. All right, that viper venom that they used a sharp object to put inside people's body. All right, see, it says to pierce through. See right here. So the elite is using America to fulfill their agenda to control the world. Okay? And the elite is dealing with the so-called white race, which they're not white, they're red. All right? The red devil, the Edomites. And you go back to Revelation 13, we'll start at 11. It says, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake as a dragon. So the 2 horns is the Republican and the Democrat Party, which they act like they're there to protect you, but they're not. And then it says, and he spake as a dragon, which they're pushing draconian law, like they did as Romans, okay? And Greeks and Romans. And eventually they're going to put it out that you're going to be put to death if you rebel against their commands. All right, which some brothers in the truth are going to be sacrificed, fulfilling prophecy, but we shall not all die. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed at the return of Yahushua. It says that right here. Verse 15. And he had power to give life unto the image of the beast, which we're living through right now. They're bringing forth the NWO, the New World Order, the image of the beast, that the image of the beast should both speak and cause that as many as would not worship the image of the beast should be killed, which it tells you that some of the brothers are going to be beheaded for the testimony which we hold. It says, and he causeth all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Now when you go into this word mark, all right, mark, it says karagma. See, it says a stamp, an imprinted mark, or the mark stamped on the forehead or the right hand using a sharp object as the badge of the followers of the Antichrist, which there's many Antichrists, but really you're making a deal with the devil, the so-called white man. All right. It says the mark branded upon horses. All right. Let's go to definition, Strong's definition. It says scratch or etching, i.e., stamp as a badge of servitude, or sculptured figure, which it goes into graven. All right. Let me get that word graven. Graven, engrave, to inscription or image, which it literally means to cut in. Like you would cut into the ground to make a grave, engrave. That's what that word means. All right. See, origin, dig. So they're going to dig down into your skin using a sharpened object. All right. Etching. Going to the root word. Which that goes into eating, which it eats the material. When you etch, you're cutting into something. Engraven, so you etch. There's that word engrave, so to cut in using what? A sharp object, all right? Scratch. To score, which is to cut or mark the surface of something with a sharp or pointed object, which they use a needle to cut into your flesh, right? See? A mark or a wound by scratching, which they're going to scratch your skin with a needle. Now let's go into the root. It says a stake, a palisade, which it would dig a trench, right? And what is that trench? That is that place where they put the device the size of a grain of rice, which they're going to make mandatory for buying and selling. See? It's a lot. Go to the word mark, which you have charagma, and then charax being the root word. All right. See, looks just like a needle, all right? And it cuts into the ground. It implants into the ground, all right? There we go. I want to get the word trench. Trench. Dig a trench, right? You go to the root word. See? Sever by cutting. So they're going to cut into your flesh which a lot of people, they already had a cutting in their flesh, which they allowed them to put venom viper into their bloodstream. All right, but the MOTB, the mark of the beast that is spoken of in Revelation 13, Revelation 13, 16, and 17, Revelation 16, verse 2, which they're going to break out with pretty much boils on their skin, and it's going to be condemning to you. Revelation 14 and verse 9, it says, and the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Yahweh Ba'asham, Yahushai, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation. So if you take that device that's the size of a grain of rice and allow him to put it inside your body, you're going to be left here in the lake of fire. America is going to be turned into a lake of fire by Russia and its allies using ICBM nuclear missiles, hypersonic nuclear missiles. It says, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. So now, let's go ahead and go back to this.
And it's not newly directed towards Democrats. And even though this group has been around protesting for over 50 years, they're now being accused of sowing division in American life and accused of being directed by Russia. Joining us now is chairman of the organization, Omali Eshitala. Chairman, welcome to the show. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so very much for having us.
So I want to start with the raid that happened on your house back in July. Tell us what happened and what was the justification by the FBI to raid your home in this way?
Well, my wife and I were up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Because we have a program that we had initiated training African women to be doulas. St. Louis, you may know, is a city where enough African babies or black babies die in the first year of life to fill 14 kindergarten classrooms. So
and when he says African, he ain't talking about African from Africa. He's talking about African Americans, which you can see himself is an African American, a so-called American Negro, which are the biblical Jews. All right?
This one of the programs that of the 50 or more programs we've initiated dealing with this question, and she was preparing because that morning the training was to begin for the doulas. And so we were sitting around talking, and out of the dark, this racket hit us. At first, it was someone on a loudspeaker commanding whomever was in this house to come out with your hands up and nothing in your hands. And then immediately these grenades, flashbang grenades, began to go off. Actually, one of them in the rear stairwell of our home, and they throughout the neighborhood. These bangings were happening. So I went downstairs and asked my wife to wait and call people and tell them we were being attacked. I get downstairs and I'm confronted with this array, a military forces. These were military forces wearing flak jackets and carrying assault weapons, and the assault weapons were mounted with laser targeting beams that were bouncing off my chest when I came downstairs. My wife couldn't reach anybody because they had jammed our phones. So when she came downstairs following me, she was nearly hit in the face when she opened the door by a drone that they had sent up the stairwell going into our home. When we get outside, I'm questioning them, what is going on? Why are you doing this? They zip tie me behind my back. When my wife gets downstairs, they put handcuffs on her behind her back. And then they said that because of my persistent questioning, they said they were there because they were serving a search warrant because a Russian national was going to be indicted later that day in Tampa, Florida. And so I asked to see the search warrant. They said, well, we don't have it right now, but it's somewhere around. And then let me see the indictment. They said, well, they can't show you that because that's going to be later today when we the indictment.
which this is prophesied to happen to the prophets. All right, Isaiah 59, verse 19. It says, "So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against him." So some brothers are actually going to go and testify and be sacrificed, and some brothers are going to call upon Yahweh Hashem Yahushai and get power. All right. It says, "And the Redeemer shall come to Zion." He ain't dealing with no Africans. He ain't dealing with no other race. He's dealing with the Hebrew Israelites, and not all Israelites, because not every Israelite is of Israel. All right. But the true Israelites that the Lord has ordained to be saved, he's going to protect them whether they die or whether they stay alive. The Lord is going to give them a spiritual power to endure whatever we have to go through. And that's why the name of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushua is so important. All right. It says in verse 20, "And the Redeemer shall come to Zion, and unto them that turn from transgression in Jacob, saith Yahweh." Let me go to Malachi 3. It says, verse 16, "Then they that feared Yahweh spake often one to another, and Yahweh hearkened and heard it, and a book of remembrance was written before him for them that feared Yahweh, and that thought upon his name." See? So the Lord has given us his name for this purpose, so that we could be saved, because there is no other name under the sun that saves. The name is Yahweh Bahasham Yahushai. Yahweh is the Heavenly Father, the supreme power. All right. Bahasham is Paleo Hebrew for in the name. Yahushai. Yahushai is the name of the true Messiah, which he is described to be a so-called black man with a white woolly hair and beard. All right. And the Lord is going to give us that name and deliver us from our enemies. But once again, I'm going to get it where it says that, some of us are going to be sacrificed. And it's all right, because it fulfills prophecy. Revelation 6. And it says right here, verse 9, "And when he had opened the fifth seal," talking about Yahushua, he opened the fifth seal, "I saw under the altar the souls of them that were slain for the word of Yahweh and for the testimony which they held," which is the prophecy of Yahushua. Yahweh is going to send Yahushua. "And they cried with a loud voice, saying, How long, O Lord, holy and true, dost thou not judge and avenge our blood on them that dwell upon the earth? And white robes were given unto every one of them, and it was said unto them that they should rest yet for a little season, until their fellow servants also and their brethren that should be killed as they were fulfilled." See, and then as soon as they hit that limit, the Lord is going to fight for us. It says that in Revelation 13, that this beast has the power to fight the saints. It says right here, it says in verse 7, Revelation 13:7, "And it was given unto him to make war with the saints, and to overcome them. And power was given him over all kindreds and tongues and nations." But they're going to find themselves fighting the power of Yahweh and his son Yahushai. Revelation 17. It says in verse 14, "These shall make war with the Lamb, and the Lamb shall overcome them. For he is Lord of lords and King of kings, and they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful."
That because that's going to be later today, when the indictment occurs. And so they took my cell phone, took my wife's cell phone. They went into our home. They knocked down doors. They stole computers and iPads and the like. At the same time, they were doing this in North St. Louis, which is the most impoverished sector of the city, and I live on one of the most impoverished streets in that city. At the same time they were doing this, they went across town, and then they attacked the center that we have there that's mostly in the white community, organized by white people, run by white people who work in the white community to win unity between the white community and the struggles that black people are involved in for reparations and etc. They used battering rams. They knocked down the doors there. They went to the apartment upstairs. They held a young couple at gunpoint, one of whom, Jesse Neville, is considered an unindicted co-conspirator, as I am. They went then to the home of Penny Hess, another so-called unindicted co-conspirator, and her roommate. They attacked the house. They knocked down doors, windows. They went to St. Petersburg, Florida, where there's an Uhura house there as well. They knocked the doors down. They took our radio station briefly off the air. And, I mean, scores of FBI agents, armed FBI agents invaded. They raided the place. They stole all kinds of documents and electronic devices. That they went into our archives with 40 or 50 years of archived materials of the struggle of black people, and we don't know how much they took there. And then they went to the home in St. Petersburg. They used the St. Petersburg, Florida Police Department to knock on the door of this young woman. Her name is Eritha Akile Kenyon. They went to her home, knocked on the door, and told her, the police, that someone is breaking into your car. You need to come out and investigate this. They got her outside. When they got her outside, then FBI agents come from everywhere. They surround her. They steal her cell phone. They attempted to interrogate her on the spot, and more or less that's what's happening. So
and that's going to happen to certain brothers. And once again, some brothers are going to die, and some brothers are going to get power and start to hunt. Matthew 10, verse 16. Behold, I send you forth as sheep in the midst of wolves. Be ye therefore wise as serpents and harmless as doves. And this is why brothers get on these Jake that want to wear fringes and hold guns and pictures, because you're setting yourself up, for a downfall. But beware of men, for they will deliver you up to the councils, and they will scourge you in their synagogues, and ye shall be brought before governors and kings for my sake, for a testimony against them and the Gentiles. But when they deliver you up, take no thought how or what ye shall speak, for it shall be given you in that same hour what ye shall speak, which we're going to speak by the power of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai through the Holy Spirit, just like Yahushai did when he was arrested by the elite army back then and brought before the governor and Pontius Pilate. All right? It says, for it is not ye that speak, but the Spirit of your Father which speaketh in you. All right? It says, and the brother shall deliver up the brother to death, and the father the child, and the children shall rise up against their parents, and cause them to be put to death. And ye shall be hated of all men for my name's sake, but he that endureth unto the end shall be saved. See, so we're about to face persecution like it's never been seen before, but men have been given certain lots. Some men are going to be sacrificed, not all of us, but some. And it says that some men are going to receive power, and when they get that power, they're going to be gods. They're going to be indestructible, and then they're going to actually begin to hunt. And that's that judgment. He says he's going to use us as a battle axe. All right? So that the nations will fear from the west to the east. Jeremiah 51. All right? And this is the judgment of Babylon. It says, Jeremiah 51, verse 1, thus saith Yahweh, behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind, which they built a nuclear missile. All right, and the Lord gave them that, but he's going to use it on them. All right, and will send unto Babylon fanners. And what are fanners for a flame? Is to intensify, that shall fan her, and shall empty her land. For the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. All right, which America is going to be destroyed by nuclear missiles after they make that device the size of a grain of rice mandatory for buying and selling. It says in Jeremiah 51, verse 19, the portion of Jacob is not like them, for he is the former of all things, and Israel is the rod of his inheritance. Yahweh of hosts is his name. Thou art my battle axe and weapons of war, for with thee will I break in pieces the nations, and with thee will I destroy kingdoms. And with thee will I break in pieces the horse and his rider, and with thee will I break in pieces the chariot and his rider. With thee also will I break in pieces man and woman, and with thee will I break in pieces old and young, and with thee will I break in pieces the young man and the maid. I will also break in pieces with thee the shepherd and his flock, and with thee will I break in pieces the husbandman and his yoke of oxen, and with thee will I break in pieces captains and rulers, and I will render unto Babylon and to all the inhabitants of Chaldea, which is dealing with America today, all their evil that they have done in Zion in your sight, saith Yahweh. Which the Lord is protecting us with a spiritual mark. It says in Ezekiel 9 verse 4, it says, and Yahweh said unto him, go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, talking about the Israelites, and set a mark. Now this ain't the mark like the size of a grain of rice. This mark is a different kind of mark. It's a spiritual mark. And when you go into this word here, Dawa, it's a mark making you exempt from judgment. See, and it's your desire for Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. Okay, but it's a mark that is going to make you exempt from judgment. And see, these Jake calling themselves African, or they're worshiping so-called white Jesus, guess what? They have not this mark. So they don't have no protection. All right? They have no favor in the eye of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. And that's why they were allowed to go through certain things, all right, without any help. It tells you that this devil, the so-called white man, all right, and his judgment draweth nigh. 2nd Ezra 15, verse 4, verse 3, fear not the imaginations against thee. So they're doing these things, preparing to come up against us. But fear not the imaginations against thee. Let not the incredulity of them trouble thee. So the lack of faith. Don't let the lack of faith trouble you that speak against thee. For all the unfaithful shall die in their unfaithfulness. Behold, saith the Lord, I will bring plagues upon the world. The sword, which is that so-called white man, famine, death, and destruction. All right? So when the Lord brings the so-called white man against you, all right, it's either to fulfill prophecy or to punish you. All right? And these Jay calling themselves African, okay, trying to get reparations here in America, all right, you're an enemy to the Lord because you're trying to be a friend to the world. And so the Lord's going to use the so-called white man, which he's a sword in the Lord's hand, to cut you down. All right? But it tells you here, verse 10, behold, my people, dealing with the hopeful elect, is led as a flock to the slaughter. I will not suffer them now to dwell in the land of Egypt, but I will bring them with a mighty hand and a stretched out arm, and smite Egypt with plagues as before, and will destroy all the land thereof. So when they touch his elect, it's over for them. All right? It's over. And we're almost there. We're almost there. It says, verse 14, woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction, the sword is that so-called white man, and their destruction draweth nigh. Remember, they come down with great wrath, knowing that they have but a short time. But them that dwell in heaven are rejoicing. That's why you get reports of unclassified 500 UFO sightings. All right, because they're here for us. They're going to gather us, the hopeful elect, from the four corners of the earth and deliver us. All right? It says, and one people shall stand, it says, for the sword in their destruction draweth nigh, and one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands. All right? Which they're going to have a civil war, a race war, a world war, and even a war in heaven. All right, because they're going to try to wage war on the Lord's saints. It says, 2 Ezra 16, verse 70, for there shall be in every place and in the next cities a great insurrection upon those that fear the Lord. They shall be like madmen, sparing none, but still spoiling and destroying those that fear the Lord. For they shall waste and take away their goods, and cast them out of their houses. Then shall they be known who are my chosen. They shall be tried as the gold in fire. Because the ones that are going to get that power, that's what's going to be that testimony to who the Lord has chosen. All right?
What we learn later is that the FBI again has indicted this man in Russia, and they said that
and this is why this man's confused, all right, because he's drinking Babylon juice thinking he's an African, all right? He's not of the chosen. But when the chosen are actually revealed to the world, all right, there ain't going to be no confusion. It's going to be clear that they're chosen of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai. They're going to become hunters.
Was an agent of the Russians. That I went to Moscow, attended a conference in Moscow, invited there by a non-governmental organization to be on this conference for people from all around the world who were dealing with the question of self-determination. So they said, I did this and became, or either was when it happened, or became at that time, or later on, some agent for Russia. They are convinced this is the case, they said, because we also ran elections, campaigned in St. Petersburg, Florida in 2017 and 2019. We were raising the question of reparations to black people. We were raising the question of black community control of the police that were killing us all around the country.
And there is no reparations but what the Lord has set forth. All right, what that reparation is Revelation 13:10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So that shows you that this man, that they arrested here, was not the chosen. Because, see, the chosen, we don't want their filthy, worthless money, right? We want them in slavery under us, as it has been promised in the Holy Scriptures.
The country as they are today. And so they said that this was something that was paid for by the Russians. Then we were involved earlier on with a campaign to get people to sign.
And the reason why I believe they're using that Russian narrative is because we're telling you that Russia is the end of America. It says in Revelation 13, verse 1, and I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns, which is the European Union and the kings, those 10 horns. And upon his 10 horns, 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy, which America is the whore that rides this beast. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, starting with the Greek head, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, which the end of this beast is Russia nuking it. All right, that's why I believe they're using that Russian agent narrative. And his mouth as the mouth of a lion, Great Britain. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority, which they did this as Romans. If you go into the story of Nero, Nero was an Edomite, and what he did was he burned the city and blamed the Israelites, which back then they called us Christians. All right? But that gave him the chance to persecute the Israelites and feed us to lions and burn us at the stake, which we're not going to go through that as the hopeful elect this time. You got 2/3, which they're going to be given over to it, all right? It tells you that in Zechariah 13, that the 2/3 that are not under the covenant of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai, all right, to be saved, they're going to actually, and the new covenant comes with Yahushai. When I say covenant, I'm saying that he's going to protect us. I'll get that, but let me get that first. Isaiah 59, because we're under grace, okay? And it's verse 21. As for me, this is my covenant with them, saith Yahweh, my spirit that is upon thee, and my words which I have put in thy mouth shall not depart out of thy mouth, nor out of thy mouth of thy seed, nor out of the mouth of thy seed, saith Yahweh, from henceforth and forevermore. And that's why he's going to raise up the standard like he said in 19. Because there's certain men that shall not see death that are alive today that are doing this work. Zechariah 13, verse 8. And it shall come to pass that in all the land of America, saith Yahweh, 2 parts therein shall be cut off and die. So 2/3 of the nation of Israel, whether they know they're Israelites or they don't, they're going to be cut off and die. But the third shall be left therein. So the hopeful elect, which we're going to have an actual, an increase, all right, where a lot of Israelites are going to wake up to the truth and join themselves to us. And that's going to make Esau even more afraid. It says in like the book of Acts, there were certain times where the apostles were out prophesying in the streets, and thousands of men, it says men, they didn't count women or children, but men, like thousands of them, at a time would join themselves to the apostles. And so that's putting the heat on the ruling class, and that's what's going to happen again. Especially when our power is increased, where we're able to do miracles. It says, and I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and they will try them as gold is tried, which they're going to come against us in adversity. They shall call on my name, and I will hear them. I will say it is my people, and they shall say Yahweh is my power. It says, behold, Zechariah 14:1, behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, which he's coming to destroy the wicked and them that do wickedly, which he's sending Yahushua to fulfill this prophecy. And thy spoil shall be divided in the midst of thee. For I will gather all nations against Jerusalem to battle. And the city shall be taken, and the houses rifled, and the women ravished. So those 2/3 that are, not under the protection of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, they're going to be taken, and their homes destroyed, and their women are going to be raped, and half of the city shall go forth into captivity. And the residue, talking about the remnant, the hopeful elect of the people, shall not be cut off from the city. Then shall Yahweh go forth and fight against those nations as when he fought in the day of battle. Verse 12, and this shall be the plague wherewith Yahweh will smite all the people that have fought against Jerusalem. Their flesh shall consume away while they stand upon their feet, and their eyes shall consume away in their holes, and their tongues shall consume away in their mouth. So that's the judgment for them that fight against us. Also, Revelation 11, it says, verse 3, I will give power unto my 2 witnesses, which the Lord always had prophets that he gave power to. This time he has the hopeful elect of the 12 tribes, each of the 12,000 out of the 12 tribes of Israel. And they shall prophesy 1,260 days clothed in sackcloth, which this is making the devil uncomfortable. It says, these are the 2 olive trees and the 2 candlesticks standing before the power of the earth. And if any man will hurt them, fire proceedeth out of their mouth and devoureth their enemies. And if any man will hurt them, he must in this manner be killed. All right. So the Lord's going to give us the power to hunt. All right. We're not going to need no gun. We're not going to need nothing because we're going to have power. It says in verse 1 of Micah 4, but in the last days it shall come to pass that the mount of the house of Yahweh shall be established in the top of the mountains. So we're going to be established as the ruling class. And it shall be exalted above the hills, and people shall flow unto it. It says, verse 11, now also many nations are gathered against thee, that say, let her be defiled, let our eye look upon Zion. But they know not the thoughts of Yahweh, neither understand they his counsel. For he shall gather them as the sheaves into the floor. Arise and thresh, O daughter of Zion, for I will make thine horn iron. So he's going to give us an increased power. And I will make thy hooves brass, and thou shalt beat in pieces many people, and I will consecrate their gain unto thee, unto Yahweh, and their substance unto Yahweh of the whole earth. And when you go into this here, the horn being turned into iron, all right, that word horn, quaron, all right, it tells you of rays of light, all right. So the Lord's going to give us powers to literally shoot fire out of our mouths and out of our eyes and out of our bodies. Are we going to illuminate light that is death to the average man? All right. See, it says a ray of light. It's going to come out of us and consume our enemies. Power. You see? He's going to give us power, which we already have power to prophesy, but that power is going to be increased. All right? And the Lord's going to give us the ability to go against our enemy, though they have what the world says, power in the flesh, because they got tanks, they got machine guns, they got things that you've never even seen. They got robots with bazookas on it. They got laser beams. They got, they call it the rod of God, where they could drop a piece of metal from the atmosphere, and it come down like an atomic bomb. All right? They got nuclear missiles. That's why the world is afraid of this devil, the so-called white man. But they don't realize our power gave us this enemy, and gave him that power. But he gave him that power so that he could be destroyed, and the world, all right, he set him up so that he could be taken down, just like in ancient Rome. Ancient Rome fell, but also ancient Egypt. All right, it says right here. It says in Romans 9 verse 22, what if Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai willing to show his wrath? Salakia. Verse 22, what if Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai willing to show his wrath and to make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, which is that so-called white race. He suffered them to become a great power in the world, and that he might make known the riches of his glory on the vessels of mercy, which he had afore prepared unto glory. So he prepared the Israelites unto glory. We're the poorest, like that Jake said. You go to St. Louis, the poorest street in the country is nothing but Jake, all right? Israelites, so-called Negroes. I wouldn't doubt there's Latinos and Native American Indians there, all right? So the Lord's going to destroy this devil, and he did it just to show his power, so his power could be glorified, and his mercy may be shown upon us. See? Romans 9, verse 11. For the sons being not yet born, meaning the forefathers of Esau and Jacob, of Edom and Israel, which are Esau and Jacob, they were twin brothers. For the sons being not yet born, neither having done any good or evil, that the purpose of Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai according to election might stand, not of works, but of him that calleth. Verse 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated. So the whole world thinks that the so-called white man is blessed by God because he came into power. But really, the Lord raised him up so that he could destroy him. Romans 9, verse 17, for the scripture saith unto Pharaoh, dealing with Egypt. Well, today, modern day Egypt is America. Pharaoh, you got the ruling class of Babylon. Even for this same purpose have I raised thee up, that I might show my power in thee, and that my name might be declared throughout all the earth. And that's why he's going to give his battle axe that power, so that they fear Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai from the west to the east, especially after that destruction that comes upon America. Let me grab this last verse. It says, I'm going to read from 17 to 19. Isaiah 59:17. For he put on righteousness as a breastplate and an helmet of salvation upon his head. And he put on the garments of vengeance for clothing, and was clad with the zeal as a cloak. According to their deeds, accordingly he will repay. Fury to his adversaries, recompense to his enemies. To the islands he will repay recompense. So shall they fear the name of Yahweh from the west, and his glory from the rising of the sun. When the enemy shall come in like a flood, the Spirit of Yahweh shall lift up a standard against them. All praises and glory to Yahweh Ba'asham Yahushai Ba'asham Ha Rakat Kudash. Double honors to our apostles and elders which rule great millstone well. And shalom to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel. May you endure into the end. Shalom wa abba babal.
You fucking Edomites, you're in a lot of goddamn trouble. Because you didn't just take any old nation and enslave them and put us under your feet. But you did it to sovereigns, the true